It is now my great pleasure to introduce the Reverend Gregory Lewis. He is the founder of Souls to the Polls, which is a Wisconsin-based organization founded in 2013. And Reverend Lewis and I have been chatting. It's been a great pleasure. We're very fortunate to have him today. I'm delighted to meet him. He is the assistant pastor at St. Gabriel's Church of God in Christ. He, let's see, he has worked for many years throughout Milwaukee, unifying and activating and empowering the African-American community. Reverend Lewis is the founder of Souls to the Polls and is pivotal to this effort, as pastors and churches are the center of voter participation in the African-American community. So, besides working on voter access, which is key to us and to them, other issues that we share in common, they're interested in affordable housing, education, economic development, gun violence, and governmental transparency. All of these are the important things that our country faces these days. So it is my pleasure to welcome Gregory Lewis, Reverend Gregory Lewis, and he will speak to us. And whenever you're ready, we will open the conversation for questions, but we would love to hear you talk to us about your work. So I turn it over to you.
Oh, thank you. It is a pleasure to be here this morning. And I just want to, make sure that, we know what, we're trying to accomplish here with our Souls to the Polls organization. Souls to the Polls is a nonprofit organization based in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And we believe that voting is our collective power, a tool we can use to build a stronger, a safer, and more supportive community. Since our founding in 2013, we have united Milwaukee faith leaders and their congregations to strengthen the voting power of the Black community. And we know a strong voting bloc is key to pressing state and local leaders on issues such as affordable housing, education, economic development, gun violence, and governmental transparency. Together, we are building a block of engaged community members and our mission to channel our faith and bring 100,000 souls to the polls. Our voters matter. So we have a strong commitment to doing everything we need to do to make sure that people understand, are educated, and giving information to understand this process. So about 10 years ago, maybe, 10, 12 years ago, we started with this building of our Souls to the Polls base by just talking to faith leaders about what was going on in their communities. And I asked them one question. I said, man, are you sick and tired of being sick and tired? Because we can work together to build up something that could be substantial. And at that time, I was working with my friend here, Bruce Colburn, and we put together a initiative to get out the vote. And at that time, we sat down and had one-on-one sessions with about 64 faith leaders. And I asked them all the same question, and they all said they were sick and tired of it. So we decided that we were going to do something about it. And then one day, another organization that I founded is called Pastors United. We got a visit from Valerie Jarrett, who was the lead advisor for Barack Obama. And she was in one of our church basements having a discussion. And she said, you can vote on Sundays. We weren't quite aware that people voted on Sundays. And then, I said to myself, yeah, we can vote on Sundays. Souls to the polls. And that's how we started, talking about being souls to the polls. It kind of, that's that's a true story. And we, ended up having this huge conversation with about 300 senior pastors at our local college. And we asked them that day to join together and let's make sure that we do something substantial in our community. And on that day, 64 pastors signed up, paid money, and we started our organization, Pastors United. And what came out of Pastors United is Souls to the Polls, just to give you a little background. And what we do is we pull all these folks together, especially during times of elections, and we try to figure out how we get to our communities. So there's a lot that happens here. First of all, we have to convince them to find us someone who we can connect with to do work throughout the community. So we make these phone calls, and that's what I do all year round is I call folks and we build up relationships, because you got to build up relationships if you want something substantial to happen. And we get someone from each one of these ministries to represent their pastor. And we talk about going in the communities around those churches, canvassing, passing out literature, and all these kind of things concerning getting out the vote. And when we are at our best, we have these rallies where we might have 100 preachers come out to a rally, and we talk about getting out the vote. We talk about the importance of us being engaged in community. And we talk about the importance of people understanding that they do have power with their vote, because most folks just don't believe in my community that their vote counts. And we have to constantly push and prod and make sure they understand that their vote does count. And we always have to make sure that, we have evidence, and most of it is given by the enemy, because all this suppression and all these things that are happening to keep people from the polls, they give us the evidence that your vote counts. Because I always say, if your vote didn't count, why are so many people spending so much time making sure you can't vote? I mean, that just doesn't make sense. It doesn't at all. So, as a process, we do all these things every year and much more. We canvass, and right now, as a matter of fact, we moved up a whole nother level. We started to canvass thousands of homes in our communities, and we have professional canvassers that we have to pay to knock on doors and give information and make sure that people understand that there's a vote coming. Because I'm gonna tell you, the sad news is this: in my community, we have to make people aware there's a vote. And it was really made clear when we had this organization do a survey, and we were voting for a mayor, and we hadn't had a new mayor in 20 years. And some of the folks that were running were Black folks. And they had a survey done, and they asked on the survey, they said, do you know there's going to be a new mayor elected on April 6th or 7th or something like that? And they asked 25,000 people. And this is something that really breaks my heart. 92% of the people didn't know there was going to be a vote. Now, that is sad. So our job is to make sure people know, man, there's going to be a vote. See, to you, that may not sound important, but to us, it's everything. Getting out the information. Man, there's going to be a vote. I'm thinking about August 9th right now. There's going to be a vote. How many people really know it? we have to really push these last couple of weeks before August to let people know that there's going to be a vote. And we got to do radio, we got to do leaflets, we got to do all kind of things, yard signs, everything just to know that there's going to be a vote in these primaries. And we have so many things that we have to fight while we're trying to get people to understand there's going to be a vote. So if there's going to be a vote, then you got to, deal with all the suppression. There's like, we study suppression. There's like 61 forms of suppression that we have to overcome. That's after we let people know there's going to be a vote. People don't even, why bother? I'm not going to jump through hoops to vote. This isn't checkers, it's chess. And it's not just one thing that really prevents folks from really engaging in the process. It's lots of them. I found 61 forms of suppression, but the top 5 have really been so effective. The gerrymandering, they've drawn these lines so that, our state legislatures and our state Senate houses, they'll be run by Republicans for probably the next 5 or 6 decades, if not longer. And then there's denying felons the right to vote. The misinformation, felons can vote if they're not on probation or parole, if they're off paper. See, we constantly get this message that they can't vote at all. We have to overcome that. And then there's this voter ID that started right here in Wisconsin with our own Scott Walker, who just really, not only did he destroy unions in our state, which should be criminal, because people don't even have a voice. They don't even have a form of fighting as strong as they used to. That's just crazy how you limit folks from engaging in a process of standing up for themselves. It should be criminal that we have folks in office who will just tear up everything, burn down everything. I call it scorched earth politics here in Wisconsin. They'll do anything just to keep power. They're supposed to be there to support the citizens of our state, but all they do is want to keep power. Well, I'm kind of getting off on a tangent now, but I'll get back to what I was saying. And then, so that voter ID is big because most folks don't have a means to even get a birth certificate to get an ID. In my world, grandparents and folks who really vote, they don't even have birth certificates. So you need a birth certificate to get an ID. This is all planned and plotted to make sure that people of color, Black and brown folks, don't get to the polls. And then you have this this way that people are talking about the elections not being secure. I mean, and that's just such a dumb argument if you really think about it, because you're going and you're talking about people who don't want to vote in the first place. Why would they do everything in their ability to plan to vote twice? I mean, it just doesn't make sense. I mean, if I don't want to vote in the first place, I'm sure not trying to vote twice. So, we gotta start using common sense in what we're doing. And then we talk about the polling place limitations. They're trying to stop us from voting on Sundays. That's our meat and potatoes. We asked pastors, 416 of them in Milwaukee, we asked them to go out and vote after service on Sundays. We try to get them to go out on Sundays. I mean, it's like, okay, everybody, we're going to vote after church on a Sunday. And they're trying to prevent that and limit the times for early voting. And that's important too. And then there's these purges. See, if you haven't voted in the last couple of national elections, they take you off of the registration list. So then you got to register again. Then you got to go through. See, those are like really suppressive obstacles to just having people in community even want to engage in the process. So all those things have been barriers to our Black and brown communities for sure, because, you know, unfortunately, we just don't believe the system is catered to the needs of our people. So why bother about even engaging in the process? And that's just, you know, ludicrous, because we have so much power. Our state is split right down the middle. I know this. And I mean, with our white brothers and sisters split right down the middle, more Democratic than Republican, but basically down the middle. The people of color make the difference here. If they don't go out and vote, you know, it's going to be a pretty close election. Even if they go out and vote, they're close elections. The governor's race was won by 20,000 votes. The presidential race in Wisconsin was won by 20,000 votes. Those votes came out of our community because we pushed with souls to the polls to get them to the polls. And I got to tell you, even with all the pushing, people really didn't want to go vote. And we have that same issue right now. That's why we need so much help just getting out the information, then fighting suppression. You know, it's a fixed fight. You know, it's like referees who are cheating. You know, we don't get to, you know, play a fair game here. Everything is fixed. You know, so we need all the help we can get, just getting out information and fighting this suppression. And now I even have folks in my community even more unwilling to engage because of this thing about Biden didn't really win the election and that kind of stuff. You know, wow, it is so crazy. Biden didn't win the election, and we've got folks fighting about that, even in my community. See, I told you that, you know, this system was all messed up. So, you know, everything is being really suppressed and confused with lies. And that is hurting what is going on with our initiative to get out the vote. And then, I don't know if you heard, but last week at about 8:30 on a Thursday morning, our state Supreme Court banned drop boxes. Now, that is crazy. So the fight is even harder now, because now we have to get people to get those ballots, send them in early, just so they can be counted. And most of the people who have these absentee ballots, they sit around with them for weeks, and then when it's finally time to vote, they try to mail it. And those ballots, sometimes they don't get to the office of the commissioner until it's too late. And I want to give you an example, because in 2020, we fought to get the election time changed because of COVID. And it went all the way to Supreme Court. My name was on that case. It was Lewis against these election commission people. And we didn't win that battle to get the date changed. But I tell you what we did win. We won the battle to get those absentee ballots counted. So you can't imagine how many absentee ballots weren't counted. It was 118,000 absentee ballots that got counted on the next Monday after the Tuesday election that we were able to get counted because of our lawsuit. Now, what I'm saying to you is this: that absentee ballot deal is huge. I mean, we could lose in a state election. You could lose over 100,000 votes because those ballots don't get to their proper places on time. So we have to really push people to mail in those ballots. That's another suppression issue. We have to really push them to get to those ballots. And then with COVID, we really had to change in the last couple of years. We couldn't go out and be in people's faces, and it's starting to get back where it's spiking up again. So we have to come to all kind of, ideas on how we get to people without bringing them together and making things unsafe. Wow. I mean, sometimes I get up in the morning and I want to quit. And that's almost every morning, because people aren't understanding their power and trying to convince them that they have it has been incredibly hard. And sometimes I just don't want to keep trying. But my commitment to my God and my folks is pure. And that's why I keep going. Because I am my brother's keeper. And we have to keep fighting. And we have to keep fighting until we go. We have to keep fighting until it's all over. And if you don't fight, if you just let people stand on your neck and just stand there and kill you, that's your fault. Stand up for yourselves. Make a commitment to do something for your brothers and sisters, and do it with a pure heart. We have to make sure that we stay together and fight this battle no matter what. Even though it's a fixed fight, I can tell you this, there's more of us than them. And maybe in these gerrymandered areas, we can change things, but overall in the state, we outnumber. And that's what we have to go for right now. We have to go for the jugular right now. We got to go for that U.S. Senate seat. We got to go for that governor's chair. We have to do that here in Wisconsin, or else it's over for us. And that's why we thank you for having us in this conversation to understand the validity of our fight. We have to continue to do things that are difficult and press us to the limit. And I got to tell you, this work is not for the meek of heart, because you always have enemies who are always trying to discourage you. But I tell you this, if you stand up for yourself, there's no way we can't win. And that's what keeps me going. That and a shower every morning. I get in there, I get myself together, and then it's time to fight again. I get up early and I stay up late. And during this time, it's earlier and later. And we have to make sure that all of our allies, that we work together and not have this infighting. We have to work together. We can't be against one another. We have to forget the past. We have to get what happened. We got to make a new history for ourselves. And we have to do that like right now. We can't wait. So, oh, wow. I think I'm going too long, but, I just wanted to let you know that our commitment is pure. I almost died of COVID in 2020 when I was suing, and we were going to the Supreme Court. And when I went into the hospital, I got rushed into intensive care, and the doctors wouldn't even come in the room because I had this COVID, and it was early. They didn't understand it. And the one doctor said to me, he said, if you don't do exactly what we say, you're going to die. I was like, wow, I thought I came here to get saved. And then another doctor said, do you have all your business in order? Because, who's going to take care of it? I said, my wife. And then the last doctor said, if you become unconscious, do you want us to resuscitate you? And I guess I took too long to answer. And then she said, because if you become unconscious, we won't be able to resuscitate you. Well, I told them, I said, well, you know, my phone is over there. I need you to get it and plug it up because I'm not dead yet. And I still got work to do. And I can get on the phone. And they thought I was crazy, but I was serious. I said, I'm going to work until I die because that's how important this work is. I'm going to work until I die. I told those doctors and they thought I was nuts. No, I'm just serious about the mission that God has given me. And I got that phone and I got on it and we organized all while I was sick and I recovered. And here I am today. I just really believe that until we find something that we're willing to die for, we haven't lived. That's my belief. If you haven't found something you're willing to die for, you haven't lived. So I found something. The peace and tranquility of a community that's been underserved and mishandled for decades, even centuries. And now we can't turn around. I want to quit every day. I quit every day. Tell my wife I quit. She said, man, get over there and shut up and sit down. You ain't quitting. And I get over there and sit down and I don't quit. And I won't quit. And I want you to understand that we really, I can't even tell you how important it is that we share ideas and we share our stories so that we know that we have some things in common, that we can really do a good job of building up this country again, building it up. Not like it used to be, because I don't know if I want to go back to the good old days, but what it should be, you know, where my neighborhood was owned by homeowners. Now we don't hardly own any homes and businesses. But let's go back to having people with jobs. And let's do what we need to do to put people in place who will look out for our interests. And God knows we got to stop letting things happen to us and make things happen for us. And that fight continues. Just like we got up early this morning, we get up early every morning. When they said we want to meet at 8 o'clock instead of 8:30, it didn't make any difference to me because I'm up at 5:30. We can do this if we work together and if we make sure that our friends and relatives understand the power that they have in pulling things together to build up communities that can be strong and we can be proud of what we've done. I just thank you so much for your time. I know I've taken up too much time, but that's the problem you have when you give a preacher the mic. You always might have that problem. I'm so sorry. Excuse me just for a moment. I got a little emotional, and that I do a lot, but I call that the Holy Spirit.
Well, I would like to thank you from all of us, a big collective hug. That was, you shared with us, you know, we often try to educate each other and work together, but to have someone at the front lines who's really working hard and making a difference in so many lives and doing really important and very difficult work on a constant basis, you're an inspiration to us, and you make us all feel like what we're doing matters in our own small way, because we look at you and can take inspiration, and thank you for all that you do for us and for our nation, because I see it that way, that what you're doing is really for all of us and for everyone in Wisconsin and for everyone in America. So I thank you for your good words and your good work. And we're delighted you came to speak to us. Now, I see some questions have come in, and do you have a few minutes to answer some questions and talk to us some more?
Yeah, I think I left some time. Let's do it.
Okay. Well, you know, maybe I'll let a few of our friends here who I see some questions, maybe Mary and Kitty, I see that you've dropped some questions, and I can look around, see who else, and I have some of my own, but Mary, why don't you ask the Reverend your question. Are you available? There you go.
Yeah. Hi, Reverend. Thank you again for
Hi.
all the work that you do. I share Karen's view that you're a total inspiration. I was just wondering, your model of getting people out to vote seems so powerful. And do you have affiliates in other states?
You know, we just started to move around our state because, you know, man, this to do this work, it does cost some money. And, you know, to go into other states, you know, we just don't have the resources. But, you know, I would love to go to other states because what I believe is that when we started this here, it took all this time. But I think if we go into other states, it wouldn't take this time because we've had the experience of building a solid foundation here. And we kind of know what it takes. And you know what the Bible says, it says a prophet is not without honor, except in his own town, meaning that people here don't really realize the power that we built here. And going into other states, they respect what we've done. You know, Michigan, out west, out east, in Illinois, they respect what we've done. It's just folks here that really don't understand what we built here. I mean, it's amazingly true that a prophet is not without honor except in his own town. It is. So yes, we'd love to go to other places. As a matter of fact, we started going to other cities, and that is going quite well. And I told my team, I said, man, it's going to be easier to do it in other cities. And they didn't believe me, like they don't believe me sometimes because they think I'm a bit of a dreamer. But I can see things that other folks just don't see, and I can tell when we're doing good stuff and winning. And I think us going around the state is going to really, you know, push us to another level of engagement.
Excellent. Thank you. All right. Now, Kitty, you had a question for us. Why don't you jump in, Kitty?
Reverend Lewis, thank you so much. I got very emotional with you. So, but
Bless you.
I think you really laid down how hard it is to get your community members to understand, as you say, their power. So thank you. Still emotional. How do you, a couple of questions. One is, do you work with other organizations in your Milwaukee community to sort of get the people on the ground whom you're training? You said you have professional canvassers. Like, how do you get those people? How do you keep them? And are there other organizations who partner with you to make that happen? Because that seemed kind of a key component to success.
Yeah, I think you got it. It's very key. You know, as a matter of fact, to have these canvassers knocking on doors, it moves us to another level of engagement. We've always canvassed in communities, but never on this level. And we work with about, I believe, like about 15 other organizations doing this. You know, you can't do this on an island. You know, you need as many people as you can to help you do this work because it's massive work. And anybody who would be so conceited to think that they could do this alone is just totally out of their minds. You need friends and neighbors and other organizations, like-minded organizations, to help you with these things. And I think that's where we really have, you know, the edge on winning, is that we've got these friends who help us do all of this work, for sure.
Another conversation that you and I started before the meeting even began, and I thought was so interesting, is we were talking about how important it is to maintain this conversation with each other and to speak to people across the country who share common values, because it starts to feel like you're working, you know, everyone around you sounds the same and is saying the same messages. But to have people speaking across the aisle, it's one of the major things that Big Tent USA tries to do, is to have everybody talking to each other and to share our commonalities and to feel that kinship with each other. And you had some things to say about that earlier.
Yeah, you know, I think that's the most polarizing event in our nation, is we don't talk to each other. because you said to me, you said, our people are kind of taking it easy now because they think they're cruising to victory. And I said, well, I put it another way, I think you said they're relaxing. I said, no, they're not paying attention, because what happens is this: if we ever start to talk to each other, we'll find out that we have a lot of things in common. With the news and politicians, the way they deliver messages here, they divide us and split us up. And it is just like now. If you had never talked to me today, you would not have known how I felt, what's in my heart, the work I do, and I wouldn't know that you cared. But we've talked here together, and we found out that there's some common ground that we can really focus on and do some real powerful work. And that's all over this country. And it really amazed me when you said, we're kind of relaxing. I'm saying, well, I can put it another way in my community. We're not paying attention. But you said it like that. That's why we do this year round. We don't just talk about voting, because voting is not always available for us to talk about. So now we talk about housing, we talk about economic development, we talk about the crime, and we talk about the transparency of our elected officials, and we try to build on these off seasons a block of voters that are really going to be active in community issues, so that when voting comes around, we can work together to get out the vote.
Well,
I'm trying to keep my answers short now, so
well, I'm reading some of these things in the chat, but I have, tell me how your membership, the people that you speak to on a regular basis, how do they feel about the big lie? Do they spend a lot of time still talking about that, or are they able to get beyond that to looking to the future? I mean, that's the thing that I find so frustrating, that people are still buying into that nonsense at this point.
Well, there's a very small percentage of folks that we talk to who believe that Donald Trump won the presidential election. And I'm glad you talked about that, because I needed a reason to smile. But for the most part, people understand what's going on and how we have to pull together. I got to tell you, over the year, that's all I do. People don't know what I do because they don't see what I do, because it's at my kitchen table. I'm calling people, we're talking about issues that matter. And we talk about what we need to do together, and that kind of thing. And that issue item is it's something that is not huge in my community, but it's huge in the state, because the state is split. And that's why I keep telling folks, I say, listen, man, this state, our white brothers and sisters are really divided here, and we make the difference. So that means that you have really great power here. And we don't even have to, we're a 501c3, so we don't tell people who to vote for. But I know if we get them to vote, I know who they're going to vote for. So I don't have to worry about that. We just want to make sure that they get out and vote. We don't push a candidate. We don't do any of that. We can't do that. But we do push you to understand your power, and you need to express it and get into this process and make a decision for this state, this country. So I think I'm getting a very positive response from, the 416, I call them, because that's how many faith leaders that we are in contact with. And it takes a long time to call them and talk to them all, because those conversations might last 5 minutes, and the longest one has lasted 3 hours. So, between those ranges, we have to make sure that we can communicate with each other and see how much, we can pull together to make things happen for us and stop letting things happen to us. You'll hear that a lot from me.
Well, I see that our time is running out. I want to take this opportunity to again thank you, Reverend Lewis, for being with us today and for sharing your message and your enthusiasm and helping us to understand the good works that are happening in Wisconsin. It's inspiring, and it's been an honor to meet you, and we thank you most sincerely for being with us today. So I encourage all of you to keep writing your letters and remember Wisconsin and how important this state is in the future of our upcoming elections. And so everybody get your letters and keep writing. I see Ann there just diligently working away as always. And all of us, thank you for being here. Thank you for your good work. So I'm going to wrap it up and thank you all for being here. If anybody wants to stay on afterward with questions about letter writing, or you're welcome to stay on, but that's the end of our presentation. And have a wonderful day, and watch those congressional hearings today at 1 o'clock.
Yes. Yes. So I'd just like to say that we really appreciate you having us on here, because we have to really band together, not just in Wisconsin, but all over this country, to make sure that people get the news that we have a powerful entity in our country. Is called democracy. But it's not going to be worth 2 dead flies if you don't vote. And that is important, very important. So thank you so much for having us this morning. And I'm sure that we'll be in touch. And I thank you so much for having a listening ear, because that's one thing we don't seem to do here anymore, is listen to one another. But I think we're going to change that together. Amen.
Amen.
All right.
Thank you, Reverend Lewis. Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you,
Bye.
everybody. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.